In the blinding heat of the North African desert, beneath the roar of the Rolls-Royce Merlin engine, a handful of British pilots faced Rommel's tanks with little more than courage, and two massive 40mm cannons. This is the story of No. 6 Squadron RAF, the tin openers, men who turned a fabric-covered fighter into one of the most feared tank busters of the Second World War. It's June 1942. The British 8th Army reels under Rommel's assault at Gazala. Tobruk is about to fall, and amid the chaos, a new weapon is rushed to the front, the Hawker Hurricane Mark IID, bristling with two Vickers S 40mm cannons mounted beneath its wings. Each gun could fire a 2-pound solid shell, enough to pierce the armour of a Panzer III from 800 yards. The aircraft looked brutal, almost prehistoric, but in the hands of experienced pilots, it would soon earn its fearsome nickname, the Tin Opener. On the 5th of June 1942, 9 Hurricanes from 6 Squadron took off for Gambut, near the front. 2 days later, they were in combat for the very first time, flying low over Bir Hakeim, where Free French troops under General Koenig were surrounded and fighting for their lives. Wing Commander Roger Porteous, flying Hurricane BN 841, lined up on a German column and scored the first confirmed tank kill. His wingmen followed, tanks and trucks erupting in fire, but the price was high. Flak was intense. 2 Hurricanes were lost that day. One pilot, Flight Lieutenant Alan James Simpson, was hit, wounded, blinded by smoke, yet still pressed his attack, destroying 2 tanks before bailing out from his burning aircraft. For that act of bravery, he earned the Distinguished Flying Cross. Though Bir Hakeim fell, the squadron had blooded its new weapon. In the weeks that followed, they fought a relentless campaign across the shifting sands, attacking convoys, tanks, and gun positions from treetop height. Between June and July 1942, No. 6 Squadron reported the destruction of over 70 enemy vehicles, including 29 tanks, for the loss of just 3 aircraft. Among their best were Flight Lieutenant Philip "Pip" Hillier, who alone claimed 7.5 tanks, and the ever-aggressive Wing Commander Porteous himself. But the price of success was mounting. Axis gunners were learning fast. The 40mm Vickers made the Hurricane heavy and sluggish, a lumbering target against flak. Even a single hit to the oil cooler could doom the pilot. On the 13th of July, 4 of 6 aircraft were hit in a single sortie. By month's end, even the bravest pilots began to wonder if the odds were turning. Still, morale remained high. The squadron adapted, developing the jinking maneuver, a sudden side-to-side twist after firing to throw off gunners below. It saved lives and became a hallmark of the tin opener pilots. Yet tragedy struck on the 14th of July, when veteran pilot Stanley Fairbairn McPhee was killed after destroying 4 tanks and 7 vehicles. He was the first combat death of the 2D crews, and a reminder that courage alone could not shield them from the desert sky. By August, both sides were exhausted. The desert lay silent, broken only by the distant thunder of engines. When fighting resumed, 6 Squadron flew with new escorts, Hurricanes from the South African Air Force, and more RAF units, armed with experimental anti-tank bombs. In early September, they resumed full operations, ambushing Rommel's columns, smashing armoured cars, and supporting the hard-pressed 4th Armoured Brigade. But in truth, even as victories piled up, the question loomed. Was the Vickers 40mm really effective? Pilots reported multiple kills per sortie, but verification was nearly impossible. Flying at 50 feet, at nearly 300 miles per hour, there was no time to observe results, no chance to circle back. Many kills were likely over-reported, and yet German prisoners later confirmed the Hurricane's impact. The scream of its dive, the bark of those giant guns struck fear into tank crews. One German officer called it a scalpel in the hands of a mad surgeon. October 1942. The calm before the storm. The Second Battle of El Alamein. As Montgomery's offensive began, the tin openers took to the air again. Their targets this time were not only German tanks, but captured Allied tanks now bearing black crosses, Crusaders and Stuarts, turned against their former owners. On 24th October, No. 6 Squadron destroyed 6 Stuarts in a single mission. 2 days later, another raid wiped out 4 Stuarts, 2 Crusaders, and multiple armoured cars. A captured German soldier later testified that the hurricanes caused panic. Half his unit destroyed in minutes. But even as El Alamein turned to victory, No. 6 Squadron was left behind. By December, their beloved 2D Hurricanes were replaced with standard Mark IICs for anti-submarine patrols, a dull task after months of glory. The pilots were furious. Yet by early 1943, they returned to their tank-busting role, just in time for the final push into Tunisia. March 1943, the Battle of the Mareth Line. 6 Squadron, flying from Tripoli, launched their largest formation to date. 14 Hurricane 2Ds roaring toward the front. In 2 massive strikes, they destroyed dozens of German tanks and vehicles, tearing into Panzer 3 and 4 formations. In just 1 week, over 50 tanks were claimed destroyed, but again at a terrible cost. 6 aircraft shot down in a single day, pilots dead, wounded, or barely escaping burning machines. Still, they flew again the next morning. At Wadi Akarit in April, the squadron faced some of the fiercest anti-aircraft fire of the campaign. 6 Hurricanes fell in flames on 7th April 1943, 3 pilots killed, including Flying Officer J.C.W. Walter, awarded the DFC posthumously, and A.H.M. Clark, whose aircraft Christine became a symbol of sacrifice. Their losses were so severe that even hardened veterans hesitated before takeoff. Yet when the smoke cleared, Rommel's Panzer Armee Afrika was broken. Within weeks, Axis forces in Africa surrendered. When the campaign ended, the squadron's record was extraordinary. Hundreds of vehicles destroyed, countless tanks crippled, and a reputation carved into RAF legend. But the lessons were hard. The Hurricane 2D had proven brave but vulnerable. The Vickers S cannon was deadly in theory, but the cost in lives and machines was high. When the Allies turned their eyes toward Europe, no such aircraft were ever used again in the West. Still, No. 6 Squadron's courage lit the path for the next generation of tank busters. The Typhoon, the Thunderbolt, and the Tempest all owed something to the men who first dared to dive on steel beasts in a 1930s-era fighter. Today, the story of No. 6 Squadron RAF and their Hurricanes remains one of ingenuity, sacrifice, and unrelenting determination. In the endless desert sky, they earned their title the hard way. They were the RAF's tank killers, the tin openers of the Western Desert.